Hip-hop is a style of music that grew out from parties in Brooklyn and New York, late 70s. And during the 80s, it grew exponentially. More and more hip-hop acts started showing up. We got bands like Houdini, excellent record. And maybe you've heard about this little album, Run DMC, Raising Hell, 1988. But the reason I got into hip-hop was not really the bands coming out of the 80s. I have to admit, it was this one. This is actually the first album I ever bought for my own money. And then I got this, and just for the hell of it, this. And later it was actually a friend of mine who told me the real ways of hip-hop and what I should be listening to. I bought my first Ice Cube record in 1992, and I can't find it, I don't know where it is. And I later discovered the genius of A Tribe Called Quest, RZA from the Wu-Tang, and one of the very best albums from the early 90s, Dr. Dre, The Chronic. So when we're talking about hip-hop, we're talking about three periods. The first one, the introducing part, and then the 80s, including Run DMC. Then we have the Dr. Dre period, and we have what's called the golden era of hip-hop, which stretches from kind of like 1986 to the middle of the 90s. It's a specific sound, and we also have two competing coasts, the East Coast and the West Coast. The East Coast featuring Biggie Smalls, and the West Coast featuring Tupac. And the big difference production-wise is that the West Coast is more kind of a laid-back, soulful kind of vibe to it, while the East Coast have a more dirty and more grimier sound. And the third period I want to talk about is what's going on right now. And I have to be honest with you, I haven't really got into the trap rap just yet. But the fun thing about trap is that you can put a lot of sounds and a lot of weird noises on top of it. So today I'm going to be showing you three styles. The first one, the more laid-back West Coast one, the more grimy East Coast sound, and then we're going to make a simple trap beat. So without further ado, let's go into Ableton right now. Now, in case there are some purists out there, I'm well aware of the fact that there are other eras and there are other styles of hip-hop. But in this tutorial, I will be showing you the most common types of beats. Now, if you're listening to hip-hop, these types of beats I will be showing you are the most, what I think at least, are the most reoccurring, in different variations depending on what style and who puts it forward. So, let's go into Ableton and check out the first one. So the first one we will try to make is Dr. Dre's 1992 song featuring Snoop Dogg called Nothing But a G-Thang. Now, this is a pretty straightforward song. The beat is pretty laid back and it's a pretty straightforward type of beat. So I will be showing you how to make just a simple version of this. Now I can of course use the real song to show you what it sounds like, but if you check down in the description I have made a playlist with different types of songs if you want some inspiration. And this song is among those songs in that playlist. So let's go. So first off we need some drums and we go into our drum kits that are over here. Now once again, if you're on a lighter version of Ableton, you might not have all these kits, but I'm going to try one that comes with the program, kind of like, nah, it's too simple. Let's use that one. Sounds kind of old school, right? So I pull this drum kit into my MIDI, and in a second it should be showing up. Yes. So here we go. Here we have our drum kit. Now, like I told you last time, how the way we create a MIDI clip is by going up to the square right here. We can see that it's record enabled because this is a circle right now. And we have the record enable button armed down here. So if I double click this, now this will be a good time to show you how bars work. Now right here I have a loop that is set to 1 bar, and I know that because it's set length over here. So I want to set this to 2, like that. And I will be placing out just the simple
And I will be placing out just the kicks to begin with. Now I know kind of what this sounds like, but I want to have a steady pattern to start with so I can go in and adjust as I go along. So I put out a kick right here, and I just put the kicks. Now this is how I do it. You can do it in whatever way you want. And I just want to put the kicks in to get sort of a feel for how fast this is. So now I placed out my kicks, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to sound like this. If I put the metronome on and I press the play button up here. Okay, so there we have how fast this is. Now I know this song is way much slower than this. So it goes dum 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 dum, right? So if I want to set my tempo, if you look up here, there's a little button that says tap. And what this does is that you can tap in by clicking with your mouse. You can click in the tempo that you want, or you can set your own tempo. Right now I'm pretty unsure of what kind of tempo that is. I'm guessing we are somewhere between 80 and 95 BPM, something like that. So I'm just going to go according to what I had. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, kind of what I wanted. And I ended up with 89.62. If I click this BPM square right here, I can change this and just put in 90 instead. So now I play it with the play button up here, and it goes. And you can hear the metronome counting to 4 twice. Once again. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I know I have 2 bars. But I don't want to kick right here because this is not a disco song. I want a snare right here. So I'm going to grab my kick, highlight it, and then pull it up to this where it says snare right here. We have a snare and we have another snare. I'm going to try them both maybe. But I'm going to pull up every second snare so that I will get this instead. So let's see how that sounds like. Yep. Now I know this song goes boom, 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 kind of like that. My beatboxing sucks. Don't comment that, please. But I know I want something simple and in kind of the neighborhood of what I just tried to beatbox. So I'm going to put out another kick right here. See how the first one sounds like. And if I press the space button on my keyboard, I play the entire thing. So it goes. Yep, that's what I'm after. And now I do want another one of these. So I get the dun dun sound and another one. So we get. And then it's going to start over. Perfect. So now we're going to put out some hi-hat sounds. Now, one thing I have learned during my journey in making hip-hop music is that you want to make some variations in your hi-hats, because those the hi-hats are kind of what's driving this forward. It sounds like a kind of a percussion sound. But now I'm going to find my closed hi-hat right here, and I'm going to check this little box right here to make sure I can hear it, the headphones up here, and this says hi-hat closed. I get one of these, and I also have an open hi-hat. Yep, there we go. So now I don't want the regular, if you heard every song, it goes like this. I don't want that. I just want a small variation to make the kick and the snare stand out, but just small variations in between. So now it goes, right? But now I want to put a hi-hat right here, and this is all for you to play around with just to see what it sounds like. And I'm going to put a hi-hat right here. That's perfect. and want another one, I think, in the beginning, because I'm gonna do an open hi-hat later. So we have, right, and I put another one right here, and another one right here, and another one right here. So now it sits right in between here. Right? Kind of cool. So what do we have here? We have, so instead of this one, I'm gonna go for an open hi-hat. So on this key right here, I'm gonna go for, pull this one up. I have this one instead. So now it goes, and I'm gonna do the same with this one. Pull it up. Now this last one is free to keep or not, just to throw it away maybe. It doesn't really matter, but I think I'm gonna keep it because it sounded kind of cool. So now it goes. So now we have a kind of more of a laid back kind of sounding hip hop track. Now we're not gonna do this in this video, but on top of this we can put a lot of instruments on this one. And we can maybe come back to this video later and put some other stuff on top of this. But we have our basic beat. And let's hear it again. And I press the space bar on my keyboard. Cool. Perfect. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so now we've done the West Coast. And now we go in for the East Coast. The East Coast sound, at least according to myself, it has a more swingy type of sound. And that's a little because of the record collectors in the early 90s who bought a bunch of jazz records and chopped it up and played them. So we have more of kind of a swing feel to it, as opposed to the West Coast that has more of an old like P-Funk and Parliament and stuff like that as an inspiration. But the East Coast, according to me, is more swingy than the West Coast. So now I'm going to show you how to do an East Coast sound as opposed to the West Coast sound. So let's try that. Okay, so now we're here with a fresh session in Ableton. We're going to go to our drum kit. Once again, we're in our drum kit, so we don't have to choose that right now. Now, I know you might not have this in your arsenal at the moment, but I do know I have a kit right here that actually says Golden Era. So if we go down here and try to find it, and here we go. And we have something that called a Golden Era kit. Sorry. Once again, this is a circle and this is armed. So let's see what we can do with this. And I do know that the BPM of the kind of thing I want to make here is somewhere, once again, between 80 and 95 BPM. Now, most of the time when I try to do, this is what's called boom-bap. When I try to make a boom-bap type of beat, then I mostly end up in the 85 neighborhood. So I'm going to choose that. So I click on my BPM right here and I set it to 85 and enter. And I create by double clicking a new MIDI clip. And I scroll down to where it says kick. And I push this button right here so I can hear it. And I'm going to turn down the volume because that was distorted. I seem to think this has another one. Yeah, I'm going to use this one. And once again, I'm going to put the length to 2 instead of 1. And we're going to do the same thing, just put the kicks out, because then we have a marker to work after. So let's see what this sounds like. Cool. So we have a starting point. Now we do know, since we did the last one, we need a snare right here. We're going to go for that one, or maybe this one. That's cool. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to use this one instead. So every other one is going to be a snare. Now we have this. Yep. But the thing about the East Coast sound is we need more kicks. So we're going to do this. We're going to put, now we have a simple beginning. But now I want to put another kick kind of just in front of this one, so I get this. So now I have two here, two kicks following each other, and I'm going to do the same thing here, but I want to put out a third one right here. So now it sounds like this. Very common early 90s East Coast sound. Now I do want more of a straight in this one. I do want more of a straight hi-hat on this one. So let's check out how this sounds like. Yep. I'm going to put these in. I'm just going to do the fours. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the way, I'm doing this by double clicking. And we'll soon be done right here. Now this is the basic version of the boom-bap sound. However, you do want to try to move around your kicks a little bit so they sound a little bit more off. So for instance, I can have this one if I choose to pull in a little bit right here. And I move this a little bit more forward in between right here. I'm going to get this. And now you can feel there's more of a swing to it. And this is kind of stale as well. So I'm going to do the same thing right here. And put this in between instead of having it on the line right here. Yep, exactly what I was looking for. So this is kind of a more swingy feel to it. So that's the golden era / boom-bap sound we were looking for in this one. So let's move on to the next one. The sun is in my eyes. Now this last one is the one that has been showing up lately. So during the last few years, the kind of hip hop called trap has been dominating the charts and been the most dominating kind of hip hop out there. In this one, we use an old drum machine based off an old Roland drum machine called an 808. Now the 808 has had a major comeback these later years. So it's a kind of a retro sound, but still new and fresh because they use it in new types of ways. So I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple trap beat with an 808 drum kit, which is included in the simple version of Ableton as well. Let's go. Okay, so now we are going to go to our drums again, and we're going to look for the numbers 808. I think the one included in Ableton Lite is the one called 808 Core Kit. Sounds like this. Kind of cool. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this into my MIDI channel. And once again, we see the circle because this one is armed. Okay, so now the BPM story in this one is a little bit different because we wanted, since we want to work with the hi-hats and the hi-hats in trap music work really, really fast. So we want to go up instead of down. And the latest songs I've been making, I've been landing around 140 or something like that, 145 maybe. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put out some kicks first to see what happens. Oh, sorry, we're going to put this to 2, length 2. Now, the setup in trap is a little bit different from the other ones I've been showing you. We're going to have a really fast beat right now, if you listen to it. Okay, so in the other ones, I've been telling you to put the snare right here. But that, in this case, would be way too fast. It will sound like this. And we don't want that. So we're going to remove that one and put the snare here instead. because we want a kind of a half-time feel instead of a full-time feel with a fast feeling. We want a fast feeling but half tempo. Okay, I think I explained that good enough. But what we have thus far is we're going to put this one as a snare as well. Okay, so now we have a basic half-time feel in 145, which if I would be putting this in halftime would be about 72.5 if my math skills count. And we're going to listen to this hi-hat right here, punch in this, and we're going to have a 16 feeling to it. So that, so if I put out this ones, okay, a little bit too fast. Yep. So we're going to do the same thing like we did on the last one. Okay, so this is very, very basic. Now, the thing with trap is you can put the kicks pretty much wherever you feel the swing is. Now, where you can get the groove in the beat you're trying to make. But thus far, we have this. And we do have our hi-hats. And in trap music, hi-hats are pretty much the most fun thing to play with, because you can use a lot of different types of hi-hats and different sounding hi-hats to make it sound not repetitive, but just to make something more fun and more different in the hi-hats. And we're going to try something different this time. We're going to go down here and we're going to right click, and you can see that we are right now on 16th notes. We are so fast that we're actually playing in 8ths, but we are on 16th notes. If I were to be put 16th note out, it will sound like this. And that's a little bit too fast right now. That's not really what I want. You can do that. I'm not saying anything else, but this is what I want right now. And if you've been listening to trap, you have probably found out that they have small sounds. And we're going to make one of those. So instead of 16, I'm going to go to 32. And the last bars right here, you can see I have 2 available. And instead, on these last 4, I'm going to put out 4 of these. So now we have... I'm going to do the same thing in the end, right here. So now we have... So that's the fun part about trap music. Now, I have just recently gotten into this type of hip-hop because I'm a more old school kind of guy. But since I've started playing around with the hi-hats, in particular the hi-hats, there are also 808 basses, but we'll get to that later. But the hi-hats are really fun to play with because you can switch them around. You can use different sounds. This doesn't have to be the same sound as the rest of this. You can switch this out for a lower note. You can switch it out for a completely different sound or whatever. And that's the fun thing about the drum racks we talked about last time, that you can pull in whatever sounds you want right here and use some different sounds instead of just the same ones. So now we have this as a basic. Nice, huh? So that's pretty cool. And that's the last thing I wanted to show you today. So that's it for today. If you like this, subscribe, hit the like button, and please leave a comment because I really want to know what you guys want to learn about in the future. So hit the subscribe, give me a like, and I will be talking to you guys later. So for now, I'm out. Peace.